Beyonce couldn't get pregnant, not naturally. What I do know is this. Beyonce got on that stage with that fake baby bump. It was lined up with the same timing of where Cathy White would have been in her second trimester. The timeline of when she delivered Blue Ivy lines up almost perfect with the timeline of when Cathy White would have delivered. We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate. They shut that hospital down like a president had just been. And parents who had just had children themselves weren't even allowed to see their own kids for 24 hours because of the security that was locking that whole thing down.
$1.3 million is alleged that Beyonce and Jay-Z, the Carters, paid this hospital to have the right.
10 seconds of TV, one strange fold of fabric, and suddenly Beyonce became the center of a theory that refuses to die. Was it proof of anything, or just a bad angle from that Australian interview? This story drags in Shawn Jay-Z Carter, Blue Ivy Carter, and New York's Lenox Hill Hospital. Tonight isn't a takedown. It's an evidence check. We're lining up dates, headlines, and the posts that went viral while no one read the fine print. Because if a rumor can survive this long, it's either bulletproof or never tested. So here's the timeline, the receipts, and the part most people skip, the context. By the end, you'll know what's verified, what's vibes, and why a weird video still runs the internet.
I admit, that did look weird, but maybe it was a weird camera angle, or maybe she wears extra padding to keep her due date a secret. And yes, maybe Beyonce isn't actually pregnant.
If you want receipts over rumors, tap subscribe and the bell. It tells the algorithm to push more context-first breakdowns. Hit like if you're here for facts, and comment context if you're watching all the way to the 3-question debunk checklist near the end. Let's go. A single interview can flip the internet, and Katt Williams knows how to light a match. He's built a reputation for dropping heavy industry-wide claims, bold statements about power, secrecy, and the way fame really works. Clips of him talking about what they don't want said ricocheted across feeds, and almost overnight,
if it's what you truly want, I can wear her skin over mine, her hair over mine, her hands as gloves, her teeth as confetti.
Fans started using those lines as a catch-all confirmation for older Beyoncé rumors. But listen closely. Most viral edit splice broad comments about the industry next to captions that name Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Blue Ivy as if the connection is obvious. The captions do the heavy lifting. The edits blur lines. The result feels like proof, even when no receipts are presented. That's how a fresh soundbite becomes fuel for a decade-old theory.
Her scalp, a cap. Her sternum, my bedazzled cane. We can pose for a photograph. All three of us. Immortalized. You and your perfect girl.
The messenger's swagger stands in for evidence. And that's the key dynamic here. A charismatic voice, a charged topic, and a million views later, people remember the vibe, not the verbatim. The theory doesn't need documents when it can borrow certainty from a headline-friendly quote. But long before Katt's clips started trending, one short TV moment had already given this rumor its 9 lives. A studio couch, a polite question, a seat taken at a slightly awkward angle. The fabric shifts, the frame freezes, someone rewinds, someone slows it to half speed. Another person screenshots the exact second a shadow makes the shape look strange. And that's it, fuel for 1,000 comment threads.
What must have been a fake baby bump visually collapsed as she sat down. I admit, that did look weird, but maybe it was a weird camera angle, or maybe she wears extra padding to keep her due date a secret. And yes, maybe Beyonce isn't actually pregnant.
The claim was simple and sticky. If the bump moved like that, the pregnancy wasn't real. It didn't matter that cameras lie all the time. It didn't matter that fabric can crease, that posture changes, that perspective plays tricks. The visual felt like a smoking gun. The kind of clip you send to a friend with a one-line caption. Bro, explain this. Denials rolled in. Statements were made. People who were there shrugged and said it looked weirder on video than in person. But the rumor had already taken a life of its own. It didn't need context. It needed only repetition. And the internet never runs out of that. The next chapter added even more oxygen. The birth, the building, and the stories from inside.
She actually died screaming, and the Carters are responsible. But one of them is just a little more responsible than the other. Question is, did Shawn Carter delete his mistress, his pregnant mistress, because his wife was jealous? Or could it be possible that maybe his wife's temper is just a little worse than most people think? And maybe he just had to clean it up to protect the brand, see? I mean, I'm just speculating.
January 7th, 2012. A hospital many New Yorkers know by name. Security was tight because the attention was insane. Hallways posted with staff. Badges checked. Doors monitored. That's standard when the biggest stars on the planet walk into a place built to protect privacy. And yet, human moments collided with celebrity procedure. Some parents said they were delayed getting to their newborns. They felt boxed out and upset, and told local reporters exactly that.
Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died of an imaginary fucking aneurysm, just like the woman who was best friends with Kim and Kimura, who wrote the book Bling and died as soon as it made the bestsellers list.
Hospital officials pushed back. They said families were not denied care. They said a floor wasn't bought. They said the story people were repeating wasn't the one they lived. Two realities formed in parallel. The personal reality of a couple guarding a brand new life.
You can't go to the boss because the boss is f***ing you. And the boss's boss don't get no Can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for. You could try to get a special prosecutor, but they'll just pay somebody to reassign him to another case.
And the public reality of a city buzzing with secondhand stories. Online, the gap between those realities got filled with imagination. Tight security became proof of something else. Policy became conspiracy. And in the loudest versions, detail turned into drama.
Where the f*** you go when you get f***ed over by the industry? Nowhere. That's where you go nowhere. Which is where people like me step in.
This is how myths bake. A pinch of truth, a lot of distance, and a platform that rewards outrage. The hospital became a character. The security detail became a plot twist. And anyone who felt brushed aside became a witness in a case the internet had already decided. With emotions running high, the theory machine didn't slow down, it shifted gears.
You can't quantify me. You can't even control your wife. You gonna handle a bitch like me. You can't even control that goofy bitch. You should have did a better job. Maybe she wouldn't have had to lose her mind on Cathy. Cause you ain't protecting you. You're protecting her. Wonder why?
Here's the concrete spine. A pregnancy reveal at the VMAs. A due date window that matched the early January birth. An official announcement that read like the moment deserved. Joyful, formal, careful. And days later, a song from a proud father. Raw, personal. A verse that spoke about loss before this child arrived. That line hit hard because it was honest. It also didn't fit the favorite rumor, so the rumor just grew louder. That's something people forget. Facts don't automatically win. The most dramatic idea often outpaces the most accurate one, especially when the dramatic idea is simple. Look at that clip. Look at that hallway. Look at that face in that photo where she looks too small or too big or too something. The record says an announcement, a birth, a specific date. The rumor says a story built on frames and feelings. And feelings are persuasive. They feel like private truth. They make you a detective in your own mind. When feelings collide with an official timeline, the question becomes, which one do you want to believe? The answer often has less to do with evidence and more to do with how much you trust the people at the center. With Beyoncé and Jay-Z, people react. They always have. The couple's privacy creates space. Space invites stories. Years later, the music stirred that space again. A new era, a new album, a track that sounds like theater set to 808's fever dream imagery. operatic echoes, the kind of writing that lives in metaphor and character voices. Listeners pulled lines out of context and stapled them to old screenshots. See, they said, it was a confession. But art doesn't work like a sworn statement. A song can play with archetypes. It can exaggerate to make a point. It can channel a persona, the same way a film monologue does. If a novelist writes a villain, no one assumes a confession. If a singer writes a vengeful narrator, some people do. This is the age of hyperliteral fandom. The more famous the artist, the more every lyric gets read as memoir. That doesn't make the reading correct. It makes it compelling. And compelling is all an algorithm needs. With a few viral edits, an interpretive track became evidence. Theories that had been sleeping woke up again. The timeline got reposted. The Australian clip got its 1,000th life. And the same people who had questions a decade earlier had new reasons to ask them. But the names and the clips were never the real engine here. It was the psychology. Every long-running theory develops a cast. A friend of a friend. A neighbor who claims they heard something. A tabloid with a buried quote. A blog that used to be popular and still pops up in screenshots. A personality who swears they know what really happened. It's a loop, a story told, so often it starts to feel like verification. The problem is simple: repetition isn't evidence. A collage of claims doesn't become a fact just because it fills the screen. If you trace many viral accusations back to their origin, you find opinion, hearsay, or lines from anonymous sources repackaged for maximum shock value. The packaging is slick. The substance is thin. In this ecosystem, nuance dies first. People copy what performs, not what holds up. A careful sentence gets ignored. A dramatic sentence gets clipped and captioned. Over time, the careful version disappears. The dramatic version becomes the default. A responsible storyteller has to break that loop. You can acknowledge that a rumor exists without pretending it's proven. You can describe the workflow of gossip without handing it a megaphone. You can discuss the machine without becoming a gear. So why does the machine keep winning? The answer lives in how our brains and our feeds work. Start with anomaly bias. The brain is wired to hunt for patterns. When it sees a glitch, a fold of fabric, a shadow, a strange angle, it flags it as special. Normal doesn't trigger the same alert. So the glitch gets replayed, shared, magnified. Add parasocial math. Fans know a lot about celebrities and almost nothing about them at the same time. They know birthdays, tour dates, and favorite songs. They don't know everyday life. That gap creates itch. Theories scratch it. Now add platform incentives. Outrage travels fast. Certainty gets rewarded. Posts that say maybe get skipped. Posts that say this proves everything get boosted. If you want reach, you don't write a footnote. You write a headline. Finally, add time. A decade stretches memory. People forget what was confirmed and what was gossip. Old clips look new to a younger audience that wasn't there the first time. Theories refresh like trends do. They aren't immortal. They're recyclable. Put those pieces together, and the result is predictable. The loudest version of a story beats the truest one, unless someone slows it down and shows the work. Before we wrap the case, there's one more cluster we need to address. The rumors that orbit the kids. Big theories rarely stop at one target. They branch. Over the years, the conversation about Beyoncé and Jay-Z's family didn't just follow the original pregnancy debate. It sprouted side stories about the children. Some are harmless, some are harsh, and almost all of them share the same problem. They start with a feeling and get repeated as if they're facts. You'll see name games, strange anagrams, numerology threads, and posts that turn a baby announcement into a puzzle. You'll see lookalike claims, side-by-side photos offered as proof of anything and everything, even when lighting, age, and angles do most of the work. You'll see photo forensics, people zooming into pixels to say a picture of the twins must be edited because a shadow looks wrong, as if cameras can't glitch or lenses can't distort. Then come the performance takes. When a child is visible on stage or in credits, some will yell nepotism, others will say it's cute, and a third group will insist it's a calculated distraction. All three readings ignore the obvious. Famous parents walk a tightrope between sharing and shielding. If they post, they're using their kids. If they don't, they're hiding something. There's no setting that pleases everyone. You'll also see school life gossip and body double theories pop up after blurry event clips. In reality, privacy choices, limited angles, careful cropping, time-delayed posts create blanks. Blanks invite stories. Stories gather likes. And the cycle repeats. Here's the line that matters. Minors are not fair game for internet forensics. When a claim leans on hazy screenshots, caption drama, or my cousin's friend works at it isn't evidence, it's a game of telephone. Treat it like one. If a claim about the kids can't stand without rumor scaffolding, it doesn't stand at all. With the side branches addressed, we can get back to the trunk of the tree, the part you can actually verify. Here's the clean ledger. A stage reveal in late August 2011. A widely watched interview with a weird angle that looked off in a freeze frame. A January 7th, 2012 birth in a Manhattan hospital with understandable high security and understandable frustration from some families navigating it. Official statements that insisted care wasn't blocked and that a floor wasn't purchased. A proud father releasing a track that, for a moment, cracked the public armor and talked about pain from a previous loss. All of that is on record. What isn't on record is the internet's favorite twist. Theories exist. Screenshots exist. Reactions exist. But existence isn't evidence. If you pull any story apart and the most crucial pieces rely on captions, not documents, you're looking at viral fiction dressed as fact. That doesn't mean people who repeat it are malicious. It means the story is designed to be retold. It's catchy. It's dramatic. It makes the teller feel like an insider. And nothing travels faster online than the feeling of being in the know. So here's the filter to use. Not just for this story, but for any wild claim. Ask 3 questions. 1. What are the dates? 2. Who said what on the record? 3. What happens to the theory when you remove the most sensational screenshot? If it crumbles, you didn't have a secret. You had a vibe. And now that the ledger is clear, there's one more angle we should talk about, the human one. Behind the headlines and hot takes, there was a family celebrating a birth. There were nurses doing their jobs. There were new parents down the hall trying to navigate a complicated day in an unusually public moment. There was a couple that has always kept most of their life private, trying to hold that line when the world wanted every detail. It's tempting to demand an ending worthy of a twist. But sometimes the story isn't a puzzle. It's a reminder. A reminder that fame turns normal into spectacle. A reminder that a strange video isn't the same as proof. A reminder that we should measure what we know before we multiply what we feel. If anything here helped you draw that line clearer, take it with you. Use it the next time a rumor arrives wrapped in confidence and cut to a beat. Ask for dates. Ask for records. Ask for the part most people skip, context. Because the internet loves a mystery, but it needs more people who love the truth. Who do you think's gonna be the next person in the limelight? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get the latest celebrity news and updates. I'll see y'all on the next one.